Okay, day 53. A master copy of a drawing by Erik. If you're unfamiliar with who Erik is, and I think I'm saying his last name correctly, but I've actually only ever seen it written because he's kind of a new discovery for me as well, actually. So he is yet another member of the Watts Atelier. So if you've kind of been keeping track or if you're up to date with kind of like the YouTube space of academic art, Watts Atelier is a art school that's in California that's run by an atelier that's run by Jeffrey Watts, who is really kind of like a master of anatomy and really, really understands well this like academic, at least like the Western academic approach to learning and studying art and illustration and drawing. And particularly the figure and the portrait. And so Erik is I believe, a teacher at Watts Atelier currently, or at least it was for sure an instructor at some point in his career. And Stan Prokopenko is also actually a student of Watts Atelier that was also a teacher and now runs the channel Proko, which I've referenced several times. And if you spend any time kind of investigating art on YouTube, you've definitely come across his channels. And so all three of them have this like really awesome approach to figure drawing that is just like, if you're into figure drawing at all, I feel like you have to be envious. Like it's the envy of every artist, the kind of style and the approach that they learn to take. So I have been getting more and more into figure drawing recently. If you're watching this series, I actually did another figure drawing session just a couple days ago. Unfortunately, it didn't really go very well, so I haven't decided yet. I might do a recap, but I haven't really decided yet. But what I was thinking about doing actually is like, so we're kind of leading up to Christmas right now. And so I was thinking of doing something like the 12 days of well, it's Christmas in the U.S., right? Western, like I'm thinking of yeah, the American way of thinking about Christmas. I understand that probably my audience is super there's a variety of backgrounds, but just like kind of this tradition that exists, let's say, at least I know in the U.S. Um, is the 12 days leading up to Christmas are like known as like the 12 days of Christmas. And I actually don't even know where it comes from. It must be like an old song or something like that. But anyway, like for example, Proko's channel I saw is doing like the 12 streaming days of Christmas. And they're doing it to also like promote a sale for some of their products, you know, so like you can get them cheaper for Christmas if you want. But I was thinking about doing something similar just here that we could do together, which would be like the 12 days of figure drawing. So I was thinking for the next 12 days, I'm gonna just do figure drawing because, you know, I was working on this painting and it's going okay. I might revisit it too, and I think it'll pop back up again. But just because I have been so rusty with this, and it's really kind of like relearning most of it, to be honest. Like I can tell I still have some of the roots and everything, but I think I'd like to do like the next 12 days, like a 12 days of quick sketch actually is how I should say it. Um, and kind of like this style of figure drawing that I'm doing right now that you're watching. So let's see. I didn't decide yet, so this is not like full commitment. But maybe if you'd be interested, if when you see this, you can let me know. And I can do a series like this. I also was planning on doing actually at some point like a month of anatomy. So that could be like January or February. I was thinking about doing like anatomy month, where we just spend the whole month learning anatomy, so you can just see the whole process. And if you want to, if it feels inspiring or feels right, you can go along with it. So this is maybe like a prototype of that, like a little trial. And so what I want to get good at specifically though is quick sketch and kind of try and steal some of the way that they make their approach. Now, there's a couple things. First of all, they all work on very specific set of mediums when they're doing their quick sketch. So I believe it's always a charcoal. It's always charcoal, and it's actually Conte, I believe, Conte pencils. You can look up Stan Prokopenko's, like he has like a video, and I think Jeff Watts does too at this point. Like they all have videos where they talk about the materials that they use, but it's always normally charcoal, like Conte, and then there's always like a vine charcoal, and they're generally working on newsprint, and that's how you get some of the, like if you look in the image, in the reference image, how you get some of those, you know, light lines into dark lines is it's like has to do with the way that charcoal moves on newsprint. So when I'm copying it in pencil, it will always kind of look a little different. But I must say, like Chris Legospi is another great artist who I've talked about on this channel, and who I recommend. I think he's got some of the. I think he probably has actually the best resources right now for learning drawing. Like if I was starting from scratch, I would actually go to Chris Legospi. And he works in pencil, and he's able to get some similar strokes. So I don't think it's so much of a handicap at all to kind of like try and adopt this style. But I was kind of working through this, and I wanted to try and understand better, like the approach and the style is what I was kind of after here. So it's a bit of like line, I would say, but also kind of gesture, and also, yeah, just this idea of like style that I'm kind of trying to extract from this figure, this kind of like master copy, let's say. So the first one is like, I also have been able to watch some videos of him online doing his drawings, and so I kind of know how he starts. So he almost always starts with like these like C curves for the sides of the body and for the gesture. So he starts with the head, and then he does the shoulders, the head, the shoulders, and that's pretty much like standard, I think, and then the waist. And like I see almost everybody doing that when they're doing a quick sketch. And then he kind of adds in these C curves, and there's actually some really interesting ones, so I'll point one out to you now, is on the right side of the figure, you can actually see where he left the line in that goes from the top of the shoulder. So if I just kind of, I mean, this might be very small, but the goes from the top of the shoulder down to the bottom of the thigh. This is actually a continuous line that he put in to make the gesture. And then he did something similar with a C curve on the back here. And then he uses these lines and kind of defines the whole figure with these like long lines, and then kind of comes in and starts to add this nice shape and this nice variation. And what I think I'm understanding from this, or like what I'm trying to extract right now, is that what makes these interesting is the variations that exist on each of the lines. So surfaces have lots of variation. Like right next to it, you can have, he'll have a light line, he'll have a sharp line, he'll have a soft line, he'll have a hard line. Like if you follow everything around, you have all these really interesting variations. And generally, what is informing the variations is changes in the anatomy. So, you know, a perfect example is on the arm that we see, right? On the top of the arm, where the bicep is, you have a soft line, and then you have a harder version of that same line, exactly where the deltoid would start. So you could have drawn these all in one continuous line. I mean, even they might have been in the same shadow pattern, but I think he's using different line types to differentiate breaks in between anatomy. And so this is kind of interesting, and I'm going to kind of explore this and play with this. And I've seen this actually in some paintings recently that I was looking at, where like the artist will change this brush stroke, let's say, when there's a change in the anatomy, just to try and like imply that variation and kind of like convey that sense of naturalness across. So yeah, pretty cool. So anyway, I pretty much talked for the entire duration of this drawing. So I think that today was like a quick drawing. It's actually super late, and I just needed to draw today. Like, and sometimes that's what you do, right? Sometimes you just need to put pencil to paper. Excuse me. And so that's what I did, and kind of came up with this idea and was meditating on this potential series. So let's see if this will. I'm leaning towards yes, that I kind of want to prototype this idea. So I'll find like 12 references that we can kind of all quick sketch or something like that. Okay, great. See you in the next day.